So I'm just starting. There we go. Thank you, Zoom. So I'm just going to do a quick introduction to welcome everybody here today. So I just want to quickly introduce myself. My name is Joanna Williams, and I'm the gallery assistant and studio technician at Gallery Leung Cove. And obviously, I think a lot of you know Shelley here today. I think everybody, it sounds like. So I feel like she needs no introduction.
And
oh, you don't know some people?
No, there's a few people I don't know, which is
okay.
nice. I'm really happy about that. Hello, Gina.
That's good. That's good.
Hello,
so, yeah,
Shelley.
As I say, you know, you're welcome to have your videos on if you would like. If you want to go off and grab a coffee and turn your video off, you can do that. And I would encourage everyone to keep themselves on mute until at such point as, you want to ask a question or anything like that. So, yeah, feel free to keep yourself on mute in case the dog starts barking. You might, thankfully, I've got my my blur on in the background because my cats like to go crazy while I'm on Zoom. So so thank you very much for joining us here today. I just want to begin today by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land, the Camaragal people of the Leung Cove area. And today I'm hosting from the Georges River area, so it's the Bedigal people of the Georges River area, where I'm hosting this event from today. I would like to pay my respects to their elders past and present and extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here today. So I'm just going to quickly, you're good?
Can I just say Gunagay for the people past and present, the elders, we acknowledge them, and First Nations,
And sorry, when I turn my head, I've actually got two screens going on, so I'm sorry. I'm not ignoring you guys. So I'll just quickly introduce Gallery Leung Cove as well, and Creative Studio. So it's a not-for-profit art centre located in the heart of Leung Cove. It's funded by Leung Cove Council and it's managed by Centre House Incorporated, a local community arts organisation which has been operating art and language classes in Leung Cove for the last 45 years. So today's event is one of two public programs to come out of Gallery Leung Cove's virtual exhibition Metamorphosis. So the show is a selection of past and present artists in residence as they reflect on the theme of metamorphosis through photography, sculpture, drawing, mixed media and new media. The show features Shelley, who joins us here today, Travis de Vries, Pamela Leung, Ruth Ju-Shih and Sol Contardo. The online exhibition surveys explorations into the transformative process of human and environmental conditions. The collection of work signifies the metamorphosis of time within the context of the COVID-19 pandemic, a journey of reflection, of change, regeneration, and the post-Anthropocene experience. The show is curated by myself and also Jen Brady, and the manager and curator of Gallery Leung Cove, Rachel Kiang, also assisted us in the process as well. So in the email out, you might have seen a bit of a timeline of how today is going to go. So I'm just going to run through that really quickly if you didn't see it. We're just going to, obviously I've just done my quick introduction, and then we'll begin by listening to Shelley. She's going to talk a little bit about herself, about her time as an artist in residence at Gallery Leung Cove and her works in the Metamorphosis show. And then we're going to move on to a pre-recorded video where we'll just take a quick tour of Shelley's studio, get an insight into her practice and processes, and she'll walk us through a demo of her mixed media process. The video has been uploaded to YouTube as well. So in that email out for this event from the Eventbrite platform, you'll see a YouTube link. And if you need, just touch base with me and I can resend it to you at any point. So it's accessible there should you want to go back and, do any art making in lockdown and need to reference it at any point. So you're welcome to ask Shelley any questions throughout the pre-recorded video. As I said earlier, just unmute yourself and ask the question, or alternatively, you can also use the chat function as well. So I'll just be monitoring that at any point and asking those questions on behalf of people. So once again, thanks so much for joining us today, and we hope you enjoy yourself. So I'm going to quickly, swap over and start sharing my screen. Okay. So I'm going to start a video. My fingers crossed is that you should be able to see Shelley's dog right now and her studio space. Can you guys all see that? Can you see that, Shelley?
I can, yes.
Fantastic. Okay.
You have to start again.
Okay. I'll just start it again. Excellent. Always got to double check that technology is working. This is an amazing studio. I'd like to just put that out there. You've got
I share it. We both have individual spaces.
okay. You, as in you and Philip?
Yeah.
Oh,
and
fantastic.
we work at different times.
Oh, excellent. Okay, so I'm just going to.
No sound.
No sound.
No sound.
Okay. Sorry about this.
Can anyone else hear? Because I can't.
I'm just going to keep playing it. Can you guys hear anything?
No, can't hear. No.
No, you can't hear the video.
Oh, I can't hear the video. No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Click share sound on bottom left.
You have to go back to where you set up the screen sharing. And in that menu down the bottom left's a little box.
It's not me. Chris, it's
no, it's whoever's sharing the screen. So
Okay, so I'm sharing the screen and sorry, and thank you for doing this help for me.
that's
I
all
haven't
right.
had issues with this in the past, but we've just set up a new account. So sorry, what's the instructions that the
Well, whoever's sharing the screen, when you click on share screen, the little instructions they get, down the bottom left is a box that they've got to tick and it's called share sound. So
share sound. Okay.
No, don't.
Okay.
So who was sharing their screen? Was that?
So I am Joanna. So okay.
I don't know what we've done.
Oh, okay. So so Philip, you're sharing it right now, are you? I can see your screen.
Yeah, Shelley was. We have to unshare, don't we?
I think so. Okay, so.
Bother sharing screen. No.
Okay. So can we hear anything?
You can hear Jerry's dog.
Okay, so you can't hear Shelley.
I can't. I'm off the screen totally. And so I thought, well, how can I reflect this in my work? Because it's in, I thought it was a very important stage in our history, in our culture. So I applied to do the residency and I thought I'd do mixed media because I wanted to free up and experiment and do something completely different from the work that I normally do, which is in oil paintings and charcoal and pen and ink drawings. Mixed media is painting, drawing, printmaking, where you add collage, found objects, or any kind of material you want to the surface of the work. Ansel Kiefer's a really good example of this, as he used metal, straw, plaster, cloth, a whole assortment of things to his work. Curators and people that have to restore his work absolutely go bonkers when they have to deal with any of his, when they have to really put an exhibition together, because bits fall off all the time. So it's a fun process, it's a freeing process, you can experiment, you don't have to get hung up on the results. I tend to work in series, so I have a number of works going on at the same time. This allows me to work on something while something's drying, and it also allows me not to be too precious about the end result, because if I do a whole series, I can then choose what I think is good at the end if I'm having a show and I need, and I want to put a work in it. So I just think enjoy it. Look at your art history, at the Dada, Surrealist, Pop period, Cubism, just so that it can give you some sort of inspiration as to what they were doing and how that would be applicable for you today and the way they're doing it. Oh, by the way, that's my little constant companion, Indigo, that you saw at the beginning of the clip. She's with me all the time. Now today we're just going to look at the process of collage and mixed media, and you might ask what it is or what the difference is. It's interchangeable really. Collage is the building up of an image through paper, material, cloth, cutouts, and putting together to make up an image. A lot of people used it as throughout art history for satirical comment and political comment. So you'll see people like Hannah Hoch and John Hartfield, who were part of the Berlin Dada movement. You'll see Pauline Botti in Pop Art, who reflects really the social issues at the time. Braque and Picasso used paper collier in the early Cubist periods. It's a good media to play around with. I'll quickly go through, and it's really anything you have in the studio and anything you want to use. So I have lots of bits of paper I cut out. I have materials like muslin and cloth, all your pen and inks, an array of those. I tend to use pen and inks and watercolours because I'm not an acrylic painter, but you might prefer to use acrylics. I've got a whole array of brushes. You need a lot of this, and you need, I have chipped crockery just so that I can lay out the medium and the water, and you need lots of water. And I'd have everything put out so that you can then just pick it up as you need it. The two most important things to keep in mind when you're looking at materials is the medium you're going to use and the kind of paper. You need a heavy paper, maybe 220 to 300 grams, because you're using a lot of water in this technique, and the paper will buckle if it's too thin. You also need to think of the tooth of the paper, because if you're using watercolour paper, if it's too textured, then what's going to happen is it's going to be harder to apply, and the fine lines are a little bit more difficult. I don't know if there's much more about paper. I think the medium is really important. So I use a matte medium. You can use gloss or semi-gloss. Also, there's a heavy-bodied medium, but that's often used more in painting and to build up texture. I think if you're working on paper, it's better to use this, and you can see it's a lot more viscous. and easier. It's easier to apply. The media itself is, or the medium itself is it's transparent. It sort of extends the pigment, and it acts as a glue. So I'll show you basically how it works. So I've got a piece of paper. I've put an R on it. I've added this medium, the acrylic medium, onto the letter R. I've covered the whole sheet with yellow watercolour. Or actually it was yellow inks. I've then wiped back over this area and the R's where I've put the medium, and as you can see, that remains white and the yellow stays. The next step was putting some medium over the yellow and then applying the red all the way through to here. And once again getting a very wet piece of paper, you apply it over where you've put the medium, and it lifts off the red. So the rest stays, and where you've put that medium, it lifts off. And then the third stage is I've put a purple, I've applied once again the medium, I put a purple ink over that, and then I've wiped that back again so that I get areas of the red. Lastly, I put some black ink over it and did a bit of squiggly things there. This is a very early study I did using the medium on the text. It was part of my Girl, Daughter, Woman, Wife, Mother series, and I'll just show you what I did, you know, the steps. So first of all, I make up a transfer. And I have it in different sizes, so I can vary that depending on the sheets, the size of the sheets. Then I transfer the paper. I just let you know it's always a good idea to rule up a border. If you don't rule up a border and you end up framing something, you will lose edges. Now, you might think 2 centimetres isn't very important, but you might have a particular piece of light or a colour or a thumb or a detail that if you lose that little section, it makes the work duller. So always have your border. So what I do here, I've done these already because they take a while to dry and you have to work through things, is I will just go over this with the medium. I make up the transfers because I want a consistency in print, and if you apply it fairly loosely, it can still look as if it's, you know, hand done and fairly rough, which is what I like. So I just brush this on, and what happens here is where I've put the medium on the lettering, the paper, it will remain white when I put the different colours over it. So what I need to do is just let that dry. So what you see is the ink has gone into the paper, and where the medium is, it sits on, I wipe it off and it remains white. I've let this sheet dry and I've put the medium on the words. And now I'm going to show you the next step. I'm going to start with the yellow. You don't have to, you can start with any colour, but sometimes lighter colours are better to start with. I'm also going to put a little bit of ink, to throw a little bit more ink here, just in case I want to use that. Also, what will I do? I'll do that. I think I'll just then, I might just put a little bit of the grey. So you can see, use lots of water and vary it. Now what I have to do is, I've got a saucer here with water in it. You see this. What I'm going to do is wipe off the parts. This is another example. So I've already put the medium on the text. I go over with some yellow. I have the paper already wet, because you have to work quickly, otherwise it tends to, the ink dries on the surface of the medium, which at this particular point I don't want. There you go. So you can see, you have to work quickly. It's really important. So you can see how that works. I might now quickly put some grey over. Sometimes you can keep it straight. You can mix it in, depending on what effect you want. Once again, I'll just dampen that off there. See how messy it gets. And that gives you, say, just a bit of idea of how things see here. I've left it a little bit too long before wiping it off, so the paint actually sort of dries on the surface of the medium and it stays that colour. And sometimes that's quite a good effect to have too. I mean, everything can kind of mix a bit around. So I need to wait and let that dry before I apply any other medium to it, and then another colour. I said I had the paper wet, and I meant the kitchen paper, and I just have it wet in a saucer like that because, as I said before, you really do have to work. You have to work very quickly, otherwise it dries onto the medium, which is usually not what you want, although it can be a bit. This is another one. And what I'm going to do on this, or what I've already done, is I've put some tissue paper. You can see the white where the medium is. I've applied the yellow. I've put some tissue paper, and I just thought so you can see that over the tissue paper, that effect there. And once again, I'll wipe it off. quite a bit of it off actually, but I want greys up here, just as something. I've got tissue paper up here, as you can see as well. I might leave some dark. I want part of that left, and part of that still to stay white. This is the part I want. Okay, so I'll let that dry. I might just put some red here as a and I just really want to wipe that away. I don't really want such harsh brush strokes there, but I can do other things with that later. So that's the beginning, and with this I've got some gauze over here, so some will go through, and I might just add some yellow while I'm at it. And once again the tissue over here and here, just to wipe out that. I'll let these dry. I'll add some medium and maybe some other materials, and then I'll come back to it and see how I'm going. So that kind of gives you a bit of an idea of the first part of the process. Back to this one, and I've put the medium down, and now I'm going to put some red over it. Okay, so it's starting to look a bit interesting. I'm going to let this dry, and then I'll put some maybe tissue paper and gauze. I might actually want a bit of a stronger red there somewhere. Where will I do that? Here. It's not that strong, is it? It's a bit washy. I'll have it here. That's looking a bit more interesting. I'll put a bit of splatter on it, not much, just a little bit here. I'll leave it at that, and I'll wait till it dries. I'll put some more medium on and some more colour, then I'll probably start adding a few other materials. I'm going to put a bit of tissue paper on this. So I'll put it on the back. I've already cut the strips here and put down a bit. see how this paper buckles, and that's why it's always a good idea, which is what is to have it stuck to a board like this one here, and that keeps it nice and flat. I'm kind of wondering as I do this what I need to be doing next, because I think it's probably a little bit anemic in colour and everything. So I'll put this down. I'll have to let it dry. I've put a bit of medium in other parts, so I'm going to have to let that dry. I will apply this now, which is my bit of muslin, and I want to get the threads all over the place, so this is always a bit tricky. So I'll just apply this like this. I'll try and spread it out a bit, and I'll lose it, I know, when I put the stuff on again. So I want the threads to kind of go out and look a bit, yeah, I'll put a bit more of this on. Oops. If this wasn't a demonstration, I'd probably take a lot more time getting it all unravelled, and I'll make my placement a bit better, but this is just really showing you, you know, what the different effects are. So want that unlumped. Now I'm going to let this dry, and then I think I'll put a little bit of, start some pen and ink work just to start making it look a bit more alive. I don't like that bit there, so I'll tease it out a bit. I don't want that stretched there. Okay. The tissue paper and the gauze is now dried, so I'm going to add a bit of colour. That's quite a lot. And then I'll add a little bit, maybe a little bit more down here over the tissue paper, so you can see the effect of I'll add a little bit of blue for something different, just so you can I'll mop up some of that water. So that's already started to liven it up a little bit, but I think I'm going to now put a bit later, put some black ink over it, and maybe some more textured elements. I'll put something like this. I'll work out what to do. I've done a little test run here again, and you can see the tissue paper over the print It's also pencil to increase the greys as well as the grey. I think I used watercolour there, and then I put pencil over so you can see the darker and the lighter. You can see what the tissue does. It sort of softens everything, and then I've added some pastel and some inks. So this already has this mesh over it, and now I'm going to just build up a few things. This is a really interesting kind of tissue paper. It gives it's sort of furry and it gives a completely different effect. And I might do something like that up here. So oh, that's got purple in it. Maybe that'll work. I'll just go over like this. So we'll get that. And when you see something like that, you can see I've put pastel down here as well as ink, black ink as well as the inks, and we'll see. Probably stay like that really. I was going to have it the other way, but I didn't check my brush then. It had a little bit of purple in it, so I'd advise you always to clean your brushes. And as you can see, this paper isn't buckling so much because of the border around it. But this is a really nice one. It's good to have different kinds of textures. I don't mind a bit of the colour coming through on that. It just adds a bit of variety. I might straighten that out a bit more. I want that smooth rather than buckly. And then I'll look at adding. I've got strings here, so I've already got these kind of lines, and so I might do something. I might do something like this. Cut it. I don't like it. So then I'll glue this on top just to give another kind of dimension as to the work. It can kind of complement the lines of the ink. Okay. I can continue. I'll let this dry and then I'll continue with this later until I get an image that looks interesting. While the work was drying, I just continued on the collage that you saw a bit earlier. I've added a reference to John Hartfield. You already recognise the Brandenburg Gates, and then I've got the young girl who was brought down by a lot of police in the London demonstration, and myself, of course. I've just added in for a bit of fun, as well as Pussy Riot, who I think are fantastic. So I'll keep working on this. At some stage I'll put some drawing into it, or I might put some other, I've probably done enough of the actual image collage, but I'll continue it with drawing and maybe some colour. Another option for this is I can take a photograph and then I can put it on the computer and work on it digitally, like do some drawing or block art with colour or add other images digitally. So the good thing with today's technology is you can start something like this and then you can make it into a print. Usually with things like this I might do one or two or three. I wouldn't do a huge runoff. I'd keep them more as a very small or a one-off edition.
Excellent. Well, that was fantastic. It's really great to, well done, yeah. It's really great to watch that. It's really inspiring. It gets you in the mood to do some art. So my apologies, I actually mistimed it. So I'm gonna pin Shelley and she can, you know, have a little bit of a chat about her time as an artist in residence at Gallery Lane Cove, and she's done a fantastic job. You'll see behind her, she's got the works that are part of the exhibition, so she'll just quickly have a chat about those and maybe what she's been doing since then. So Shelley actually got the residency through the Regional Arts New South Wales Quick Response Grant, so she spent a wonderful 3 months with us. So I'm going to pass it on to Shelley, and look forward to hearing from you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here and watching through that. It was a little bit long, I thought. I might have overdone it a bit and repeated it a bit, but hopefully you got the sense of how to do it. I often start with an idea or a feeling, and that gives me actually something concrete to do and concrete to work on. In the demos, it was more looking at the effect of how you get things rather than the actual idea behind it. But if you have something, it means the materials you use will all go towards, you know, getting that feeling right. The residency of Lane Cove was really good because it was this time last year. We'd already gone through our first wave of COVID with the lockdown, and everything was a little bit, there's still restrictions, but things were eased. And because I live in Bellingen, I felt the need to try something different and to go somewhere else and to be inspired by the exhibitions that were on in Sydney at the time. My friend Dana, who's there today, let me stay at her place, which was really nice. I did get a small grant from Rural Arts New South Wales, and it was a quick response grant. So as soon as Gallery Lane Cove said there was a vacancy, which I was quite lucky came unexpected, mainly due to COVID, they gave me some money which went towards material and travel and, you know, petrol. And it's just, if you live in a rural area, to be in the city for a while is expensive. So although it didn't cover everything, it did help enormously. And I had a really great time there because quite a few of my friends that are artists came to visit me and talk to me about the work and were, you know, really, really good in supporting me. The Gallery Lane Cove itself was really good. The staff were fantastic. And I met other artists there. I had my own studio, which was the smaller one of the two studios. And then they had the classrooms, which I could go into whenever there wasn't a class on. So I had an amazingly big space as well as a smaller, intimate space. The gallery promoted me and they put me on their Instagram and, you know, webpage. And so it was all really nice for that time. And I used to go there about 9 o'clock and work till about 4 because I really wanted to make sure that I used the time. Also, when I put in the application, I actually said to them that I wanted to start this vellum series, which is veils, for an up-and-coming exhibition there with a group of Arts Network Bellingen Collective. But I wanted to explore it freely and try different techniques without feeling I had to have an end result when I went there that was, you know, perfect and finished. So for me, it was an exploratory process, and it was very beneficial because I started with the idea of veils, and then that led me through to working out through that it was the people in the veils that I was really drawing at this particular stage. And then that led me on to a whole other areas of gender identity. And I've just, from there, it was a whole wealth of ideas that I can now continue to explore. So it was extremely beneficial. Has anyone got any questions at the moment? I mean, my practice is I work in a series of things. So I have maybe 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 works going on at once, and then if I get stuck, or if I have to wait for something to dry, because I work very in painting with oils, it's very terpsy and I do layers, so I have to wait. I always have something going so I can go from one to the next. And sometimes I just don't feel like working in oils. I want to do a charcoal drawing, so that allows me, with my whole other series, to turn to that. So I don't know if that's a bit scatty or not, but it seems to work for me.
I think what works for you is what works for you. I think every artist works a little bit differently and has their own way. I think it's just the wondrous things come from all different places. Does anyone have any questions for Shelley at the moment? Feel free to unmute yourself. And
first of all, Shelley, thank you very much for your very generous presentation. I thought it was terrific. And I was wondering if you'd comment on the role of chance in your process. I mean, there seems to be quite a bit to me that that you're very accepting of what occurs in the process. You're not such a control freak as perhaps some other people might be.
Yeah, I don't know who I'm talking to because I can't see your...
Oh, it's Fran.
Oh, Fran. Oh, yes, Fran. Well, it's 2 things. Sometimes I am quite controlling. If something is not working towards an idea that I want it to be, I can be. But in the mixed media, what I find so much fun and what I love about it is if you're working on quite a number of those paper works that I was demonstrating, and I have an idea, the idea can develop and the aesthetics can develop through chance, and I like that. And so at the end, if I've done about 6 or 8 works, I can choose which ones work, or I can develop those in a particular direction. So the individual ones, a lot of chance occurs, and I like that.
Yeah, I thought you did, yeah.
Places to where I mightn't have gone if that accident or that thing hadn't have happened. I was working very quickly in that process. You have to work quickly, but I'd probably be a bit more measured with my layout and what I wanted to do if I wasn't doing that demonstration.
Yeah.
So there's chance, and there's also measuring where the chance takes you and what to do with it.
fantastic. Does anyone else have any questions? Feel free to unmute yourself and ask anything or share it in the chat. I'm happy to read it out.
Oh.
Hello, Shelley, this is Sarah. I wanted to ask you, I know that you've done a few residencies, and I wanted to know, how did the Leung Cove residency influence the work or the method that you worked with in that 3 months that you were there?
How did it? Well, I was in this particular residency, I spent a lot of time by myself. Like in the residency in Berlin, it was structured that you were working with a group of people and being facilitated with a group of people and going to exhibitions with a group of people. So you're with a group of artists and you were exchanging and sharing and discussing the whole time. And that was a different stimulus from being in your studio working. Now, in Leung Cove, the good thing about it was that I was uninterrupted in what I was doing. So once I got in there, it was all work, except if a fellow artist, you know, once every couple of days, like Carla and Jerry popped in and Dana popped in and Kim popped in and Sarah popped in. A whole lot of people came in and discussed the work, but basically I was completely uninterrupted. So It also meant I was in a country where I could speak the language, and going to exhibitions was very stimulating. So that also helped. So there are different kinds of residencies and different stages, because this was completely experimental. There was no exhibition for me at the end of this, as far as at the residency they put up, you know, at this stage, there was no exhibition. So it allowed me to be completely free, whereas I was never hung up that I had to do something for something else.
Good. Thank you.
Does anybody?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just wondering, it's Kim, just wondering how COVID has impacted upon your work over the past year.
Living in Bellingen, we're quite lucky in that we're not as restricted as you have been in Sydney, and not as isolated, because we are isolated here anyway. Like, we all have our studios, and you know, we don't have the distractions or the interactions as on such a scale as you do in the city. But because of the uncertainty and because of the changes that it's brought about with everyone, especially with the later Delta one, where suddenly we're not going to go through it so quickly, you think more of transit, like your work becomes much more serious, because it's very serious what we're all going through, and it's uncertain, and there's a lot of anxiety, and it's a lot of what will happen in the future, what is normal. And also it's given you a lot, you know, in lockdown you have a lot more time. So, you know, I've been looking much more at I look at other artists anyway, but I have more time to I have more quiet time, more thinking and reflective time. And I think the work is starting and will start to change much more radically over the next few months.
Okay, thanks.
Has it affected your work at all?
In very much the same way, yeah. Because I think most of us are pretty isolated anyhow in terms of what we do day to day, but it's where your head is gone and what you're thinking about that is changing. Yeah.
Anyone want to add to that or say what they think about it? All the other practitioners and art lovers here?
I know that we talked about in our earlier chat, Shelley, how your enthusiasm, your proactivity, it ebbs and flows day to day as well. You know, I'm sure people who are practicing artists and who are not practicing artists, people just simply living through it. I think that you feel all more optimistic and more proactive about life in general, 1 week or 1 day, and then the next day you can feel a little less so. So I think we're all going through a little bit of a journey together. It's and I think that's reflected in your art practice. You know, 1 week you might be very proactive and very prolific, and then on other weeks it's a real struggle and you don't like anything that you're making and you're really forcing yourself to get into the studio space. Have you been experimenting much during the COVID period, Shelley? Are you making works that run along the same lines as before?
And they're changing, but see, I just came off working for an exhibition, which was cancelled or postponed because of COVID. And so now I'm on to a whole new stage of what am I going to do next? And some of the ideas I started off with, I want to pursue further and change. What I found is being asked to be part of the Metamorphosis exhibition was really interesting, because I had to relook at works and think about, well, what is transition? What is change? What is the meaning of metamorphosis? Because we often think of it as, you know, in the sense of a chrysalis experience where you go from something dark to something beautiful. But in actual fact, it's the process of change that interests me, not where the change is going to, because it can be dark. Like COVID is a metamorphosis of our normal lives in a sense, and we don't know where that's going to take us. So it encompasses sort of a certain anxiety in relation to that. So I found getting the works ready or looking at what I had in relation to that and how to change it quite an interesting experience. And the one thing I like about the community of the gallery, Leung Cove, and the studios is that they try and encourage people with online exhibitions. And it got me going again in a direction that I'd kind of left for a little while because I was doing other things. And it allows so many other people to share it online was really good. And so I've started to look a lot more at a lot of online exhibitions and be involved in a lot of online talks from overseas as well as in Australia because of that. So it's kind of nice to have such a proactive community as well, I think, created.
Yeah. Definitely. Well, we'll start wrapping things up. Before we do, I did just want to do a final check and see if anybody had any last questions for Shelley before we wrap up for the day.
Yeah, I'd like to just to encourage a bit of applause, please.
Yeah, definitely. Fantastic. Excellent. We've just got somebody saying, thank you so much, Shelley, for sharing your fascinating practice and your beautiful studio space. It's such a joy to experience art, and hearing you talk about your art making is such a privilege. So, yeah.
Left, but thank you very much. Was it her or was it?
It was Chris.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know who she is, but
we met briefly, Shelley. I'm a friend of Dana's.
Oh, okay. You're her walking. Are you her walking friend?
I'm her walking friend.
Oh.
Sadly, not her art making friend, but I do love it, and it's been fabulous having this experience. So thank you.
You can all go off and do some now.
Definitely. And Samantha says, thanks, Shelley, for your insight. So yeah, definitely. As I mentioned, so, you know, you're all welcome to refer back to that email out that happened before the event, where we've got the YouTube video of what you all watched today. So you're welcome to, you know, to go back. So this might be a starting point for many of you to kind of, you know, begin a bit of an art practice in lockdown or to continue one. And I've also got another comment here that says, thank you for your time today, Shelley. Your demonstration and art making practice has been informative and insightful. You've inspired me to create and share your material practice with my senior students. So that's from Connie. So that's fantastic. It's really great. And it's great to be able to still connect with people and to hold these public programs in a different way, but I think it's, you know, people are still really getting something from this. So it's fantastic. And yeah, thank you for such a great job.
Thank you. I think the thing to remember with what I showed you is I do start with an idea or a feeling, but if you're stuck in your work and you just want to muck around, you can have fun doing it without any pressure, which is just developing your aesthetic sense, which I think is really, really important.
Yeah, absolutely. Sarah's just saying, thank you, Shelley. Wonderful talk, insightful and inspiring. So
thank you, everybody. It was lovely to see you. It was so good.
Yeah, it's a nice way to catch up. And I will just say as well, for any of you who haven't managed to catch the online exhibition, it is on the Gallery Leung Cove website. So that's galleryleungcove.com.au. So it's on the front page there. So catch it before it ends. So we have actually extended it to the 10th of October. So you still got a couple of weeks before we close up shop with that. So yeah, definitely have a look at Shelley's practice and the other artists' practice. Definitely. So once again, thank you so much. We've got somebody saying I'm about to get into some drawing and collage now that I'm stuck in a seated position. Thanks, Shelley. A few reminders of things to apply. That's great. It seems like people are already ready to get started. So thank you fantastic work from your husband, Philip, on the filming. I have to say, he did a great job.
I think there's a lot of trouble over that.
I thought that was Indigo doing the filming.
Oh, it was Indigo, was it? She did a great job. She did a fantastic job. Well, thank you so much again, everybody, for joining, and we look forward to seeing you all back in the gallery and back in person sooner rather than later.
Okay.
Thank you, Shelley. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a good day, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Saturday. Thank you for joining me today.
Michelle, that was great.
Oh, thanks, Lisa. My sister's like critical, you know.
Well, she's given you a thumbs up, so you did a very good job.
She hasn't said anything. How am I faring?
All righty. Thanks so much, everybody.
Bye.
Well done, Shelley.
Bye. Bye.